Hello. Hi. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you've never been here before. Today we are going to be talking about one of my favorite movies that I've watched so far this year, and that is Heart Eyes. Listen, I am a fan of goofy movies, of having a little bit of comedy sprinkled in, not taking yourself too seriously, especially when it comes to horror. I think it helps not only me when I was first starting this channel and getting into horror movies, but anybody that's trying to get into horror. I think it helps people to adapt to watching more horror movies, right? It's a nice segue into the horror realm because it kind of like allows you to put a little spin, a little fun spin on something that can be very traumatic, you know? So this movie takes place on Valentine's Day, and it's about this Heart Eyes killer that mistakes these coworkers for a couple and decides to try to kill them. I just have to point this out. I didn't know Olivia Holt was in this, which if you're a Disney XD, Disney Channel baddie, you will know who Olivia Holt is. She is a classic Disney Channel star. So that was very surprising. It was actually really like nice and nostalgic to see her because I mean, I know she's been in other stuff. She was in Totally Killer, which I watched last year, and now this one. I love seeing her in these horror movies. So I hope she does more because she was amazing in this, right? I feel like I don't really see her very modern stuff too much except for Totally Killer, which she was amazing in. She was so good in this movie. I was very happy to see her, honestly. It brought the nostalgia feels. It hit me right in the heart, you know? But aside from that, I had so much fun with this movie. Now, like I said in the beginning, it is very goofy. And if you're new to my channel, I'm not a fan of like solely comedy movies. Like if this movie didn't have the horror aspect added to it, I don't think I would have liked it. I was comparing this to The Monkey, which if you haven't seen that video, I highly encourage you to check it out. But that movie was also very goofy. But for me, it like wasn't suspended in reality, and that made it really difficult for me. Like this one, in Heart Eyes, there were reasonable stakes, right? It has like that rom-com vibe and feel. She makes a mistake in her advertising. She works for like an advertising jewelry company, and this guy comes in and is basically gonna take her job, and they have to find out a way to save the company. Whatever. It's a little cheesy, right? But it acknowledges itself as being cheesy. I think Olivia Holt specifically was really good at reacting like how I felt like an actual person would react. You know, that was my problem with The Monkey. I was like, I feel like people would not act like this in this situation. Like it was too unbelievable for me to suspend my disbelief, I guess, if that makes sense. But for this one, I could suspend my disbelief, like, okay, this Heart Eyes killer, like, okay, whatever. But the fact that she was reacting in a way that I felt like an actual person in real life would react to these crazy things that are happening, I was like, okay, you know, I was on board with everything going on. Normally, I don't really like romance movies either, which, you know, I feel like, whatever. I mainly only like horror movies, like let's just be real. I don't like the romance trope of enemies to lovers because I'm like, just tell each other you like each other, all right? Like I hate the miscommunication. I hate the, what? We don't like each other, blah, blah, blah. It's so annoying to me. It's like, come on, you guys, like life is too short, especially in this horror movie, right? Everyone's dying. Life is too short to just be like, oh my gosh, no, I don't like you. It's like, okay, who cares? Just tell you guys you obviously like each other. In this movie though, these people have a good reason to be enemies. This guy is gonna take her job. She obviously wants to keep her job. There was reasonable high stakes going on. First of all, like their lives are at stake. They're getting hunted by this killer. And also aside from that, there was a separate like high stakes of like her losing her job, this company going under. So for that, it felt realistic, right? And it made sense why they would be enemies on a personal level too. She's kind of unbearable in the beginning a little bit, but she warms up, right? We all love her in the end. So as like I'm describing it, you can kind of tell it's like a cheesy romantic comedy movie, but you have the horror slasher, and I love a good themed killer, creative kills. You know, this movie had that. I love a good creative kill. I will say that about The Monkey too. I didn't say this in my review, but The Monkey did also have some good creative kills, which I will always appreciate no matter how bad the movie is. But this one is definitely worth a watch. Now, obviously, because this movie is themed around Valentine's Day, it does unfortunately restricts itself into just being a Valentine's Day movie. And I know we're past Valentine's Day, but I still think you should watch it, all right? It is, yes, about Valentine's Day, and it does take place on Valentine's Day, but it's also just like about love, you know, which is year round. So I highly encourage you guys to watch this. I gave this a 4.5. Like, that's how much I liked this movie. There was a couple times where I was like, okay, couldn't we just do this? Couldn't we just do that? Can't you just escape this way or that way? You know, like typical horror movie stuff, which if a horror movie can tighten those loose screws, I will be very impressed, and it will get like a 10 out of 10 for me. But that pretty much never really happens. Like, I wonder, when horror movies are getting made and they do a test screening, what's the test screen for? Like, is it just to see if people like it? Or there should be a job, which I'm guessing the test screening is for this specific reason, to have someone point out like, there's a plot hole right there. There's a plot hole right there. Which Companion, which came out recently, had too many of those. It had a lot of plot holes, and that's another video that I'm going to make because I need some explanation, and maybe some of y'all can give that explanation to me. In terms of this movie, I will say it's pretty gory. I mean, it's hard for me to decide because I feel like I'm very desensitized because I pretty much only watch horror movies for this channel and in my everyday life. So it's hard for me, like one of my favorite franchises is Saw. So it's hard for me to tell you exactly how gory a movie is because there are people in my life who are like, never watch horror movies, and they do once and it's too much. And I'm like, really? That was too much? I didn't think it was enough. No, this one is decently gory. And something I like to, okay, and also I need to point out this movie did have Devon Sawa. If you don't know, I love Devon Sawa. I do, I really do. Where's my, I put it over here. You can't see it anymore. But I have his autograph right there. And I met him at a horror convention. Very great individual. I didn't know he was in this movie. I can't even tell you. That instantly gave it a 10 out of 10. And at that point, we were just kind of working down from there. As soon as he popped up on the screen, hell yeah. I will say also the twist in this movie, not super surprising, but it is a little goofy. I don't want to give any spoilers away, but it is a little goofy considering who it is. And then more shit happens and you're like, okay, which I can't go into specifics because I want this to be spoiler free because I do want you to go see it. I do think it's worth a watch. I will also understand if you want to wait till it comes on to streaming because obviously it's kind of restricted itself as a Valentine's movie. So like watching it on Valentine's Day, around Valentine's Day time is when you would want to typically watch it in theaters. Since we're past that point, I understand if you want to wait till it comes on to streaming. But either way, I do think it's worth a watch. Okay, I have more to say. After I already finished filming my review, I wanted to say, much like this kind of horror comedy is a good gateway, it's a good introduction to horror if you're not an avid horror movie watcher. I feel like on the flip side, this is also a good introduction for horror fans like myself to get into rom-coms because I don't watch romantic comedies, but the main couple in this movie had me being like, okay, if more rom-coms had, these people had chemistry. If more romantic comedies were like this, where the main characters, it feels realistic, it feels like they have this much chemistry, and I cared about their lives this much, I would watch more romantic comedies. So I feel like this movie had a good balance of either genre and combining them. So if you mainly watch rom-coms, you would like this movie. And if you mainly watch horror, you would like this movie, but also get a little bit of a taste, a little bit of a sense of romantic comedies and find yourself that you might be able to watch them or enjoy them, because that's definitely how I felt coming off of this movie. I gave it 4.5 stars. So for me, that would be like a 9 out of 10. Because for me, the highest regard a movie can get is if I want to watch it again. And this one I do want to watch again. So there you have it. Okay, I want to give a huge shout out to all of my Patreon members. Everyone here on this screen has helped me out by checking out the Patreon and helped me out on the channel. And I really appreciate it. I really, really do. Everyone's support means so much to me, and it helps the channel out more than you can possibly imagine. So if you're interested in checking out the Patreon, getting videos earlier, link for that will be in the description below. Okay, what did you guys think about Heart Eyes? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was just all right? Let me know. What other movies are you guys excited for to come out this year? I don't really have anything specifically. I've been eyeing Hell of a Summer. That's coming out later this year. That one also looks like a good horror comedy. It kind of gives you the same vibes as this one, where it's not taking itself too seriously, but it's still kind of rooted in reality. I hope so. And the Until Dawn movie, although don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about it being different than the game plot, but I understand why they aren't going with the same plot that the game is, because people already know how that one ends. So I get it. Let me know what other movies you guys are excited to see coming out this year. For my Patreon, we're also doing exclusive movie reactions to there. We just voted for my next one, and it's going to be VHS Beyond. So if you're interested in watching that, once again, check out the Patreon in the description. But thank you guys for coming along with me on this journey. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all of that jazz. And as always, thanks for watching.